Hello, everyone. In the 70s and 80s of the last century, this guy, whom not everyone remembers today, even the most ardent bodybuilding fan, competed with such titans as Arnold Schwarzenegger, Frank Zane, Chris Dickerson, and Franco Colombo. The name of this textured athlete has been forgotten over time. There's not much information about him on the web, and videos of his workouts and performances can generally be counted on the fingers. And yet Roy Callender, nicknamed the Barbados Bomber, was one of the main stars of the golden era of bodybuilding and took third place in the Mr.Olympia competition. Among his successes is the title of Mr. Universe, as well as several first places at the North American Championships. The Swarm had impressive dimensions, proportions, and qualities for its era, but unfortunately, during his performances, he was objectively slightly underestimated. Despite this, during his 20-year career in bodybuilding, he has won 5 championship titles on the PRO scene and participated in 5 Mr. Olympia tournaments. Roy Callender was born on October 31, 1944 in Barbados. Despite this, our hero can rightfully be considered a Canadian since the Callender family moved there a few years after Roy was born. Since childhood, the guy has been worried about the problem of excess weight. Of course, he did not have obesity or any other similar disease, but the extra pounds were always present. This is what prompted our hero to start playing sports in his youth. Moreover, the choice of the appropriate type did not take much time. Roy reasoned that the easiest way to get himself in good shape was through strength training, or more simply, training with iron. Since his youth, Callender was distinguished by incredible diligence and the fact that he took on any business with undisguised obsession, hence the part of the nickname Bomber. However, this did not affect his character in any way. Roy was quite a good-natured and friendly guy. As such, the concept of bodybuilding did not yet exist in the late 50s of the last century. Everything related to iron related to weightlifting. Roy desperately wanted to train, but he couldn't find a suitable place to train. In the gym, you had to do weightlifting with a coach, and Roy just wanted to pump iron, and no one wanted to let a 14-year-old boy into the barbells and dumbbells without supervision. But this did not stop our hero at all. He firmly decided to build his own small sports corner. He saved the pocket money his parents gave him and bought dumbbells, barbells, and other equipment. In 6 months, he had a good gym at home where he spent all his free time. Very soon, the problem of excess weight was almost solved. Roy started to look great. He got muscles. The young man not only forgot about his problem, but also began to stand out noticeably with his muscles against the background of his peers. This is despite not the most enormous height, only 173 centimeters. A few years later, when Callender came of age, he began to think more and more about a career as a bodybuilder. It was at this time that bodybuilding was born, which attracted Roy more and more. But to be an athlete, and even at a competitive level, you needed money for training. But unfortunately, his family was going through hard times, so the guy had to wait with the idea of a sports career. Instead, Roy gets several jobs at the same time and buys his first subscription to a real gym with the money he earns. At the age of 22, his anthropometry was as follows. His weight was 89 kilograms, although his competitive weight would later rise to 100 kilograms, and his biceps were 46 centimeters. Hip, 65 centimeters, pectoral, 126 centimeters, waist is 79 centimeters. As time passed, Roy did not stop training intensively. 2 years later, he became the biggest guy in his gym. In 1967, he was advised to try his hand at the competitive stage. Our hero agrees without hesitation and wins his first Mr. Southeast Britain competition without much difficulty. In the same year, he became the runner-up at the Mr. Universe NABBA tournament. In general, this tournament has become a real obstacle for our hero. Roy is still unable to rise to the first stage of the coveted tournament. From 1968 to 1971, he took second place 3 more times and couldn't get the coveted title of champion. Desperate in 1973, he even decides to leave bodybuilding and become a professional wrestler. In those years, he performed under the pseudonym Mr. Olympia. Roy was probably wishful thinking, or the idea was still in his head. Callender began his professional wrestling career by debuting in the ring against killer Tim Brooks in Montreal, signing a contract with the Stampede Wrestling promotion. But in 1975, Callender decided to give up his career as a wrestler and return to his native bodybuilding. 2 years later, while living in Montreal, he met Jimmy Caruso, a famous photographer and owner of a local gym. Roy asked Caruso to coach him because he wanted to regain his former form and return to the stage. Jimmy assured him that he would get his Mr. Universe title before the end of the year if he followed his advice carefully. Of course, the bomber from Barbados agreed to these conditions and began heavy training. During his collaboration with Caruso, Roy managed to make an impressive form, and in September 1977, he easily won the Canadian Championships in Calgary in the middleweight and absolute categories. At the same time, he takes the titles of Mr. International and the long-awaited title of Mr. Universe. This is how Mr. Olympia wins the right to compete in the main tournament for any bodybuilder. At his first Olympia, he immediately became the second in the over 200 pounds category, second only to the future legend and bodybuilding idols Robbie Robinson, and closes the top three in the absolute. Of course, above him is the same Robinson and the legendary Frank Zane. The debut was really a success, you must agree, especially considering that Roy left behind guys like Danny Padilla and Ed Corney. Callender continues to train even harder and wins tournaments in his native Canada in 1979, Canada Diamond Pro and the Vancouver Grand Prix. In the same year, he entered the Olympia for the second time and became the fourth in the category over 200 pounds. Behind Mike Menser, Dennis Tinerino, and Roger Walker, Frank Zane takes the absolute and his third Olympia in a row again. The following year, in 1980, Roy ascended the competitive stage 3 times. He became a bronze medalist at the Pittsburgh Pro, the Pennsylvania Grand Prix, and the Night of Champions. He goes to the Olympia 80, if not as a favorite, then definitely as a contender for the top 6, but he lacks one step to justify the forecasts of experts. Roy becomes the 7th, bypassing such top builders as Tom Platz, Danny Padilla, Ed Corney, Samir Banout, and Ken Waller. The inimitable Arnold Schwarzenegger took the lead at that championship. Then there were several Grand Prix events in North America and 2 final Olympia in the career of the Barbadian Bomber. In '81 in Columbus, Roy narrowly missed out on the top 3, losing the podium to Tom Platz, Chris Dickerson, and Franco Colombo, who returned to the professional stage. 3 years later, in '84, he finished 5th at the Olympia. Until 1989, Callender competed in professional tournaments but no longer achieved success, and after finishing 7th at the German Grand Prix, he decided to retire at the age of 47. Roy has also starred in several documentaries and 1 feature film. Now, Roy still lives in Canada. He is now in his 80s and his life is still connected with bodybuilding. Roy Callender is currently, according to the internet, working as a coach at the Gold's Gym, sharing his experience with young athletes and probably sometimes telling his students stories about how he once went on stage with the legends of the Golden Era. As always, I will be grateful for your support. It helps in the development of the channel. Do not forget to click on the bell so as not to miss the new issue. Thanks for watching Sports Guru with you. See you later.